Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting my second scary storyteller channel for y'all. And this one's Mr. Haunted. The video that I'll be reacting to is 4 true creepy gas station horror stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okie dokie, here we go.
In 2014, I worked as a gas station attendant at my local gas station in my hometown in Iowa.
Okay.
This station was located right beside a very busy highway that was practically flooded with cars driving back and forth, which also meant that the gas station would be packed.
Oh yeah, I hate going to gas stations like that because, like this person said, it's always packed and you barely find a pump that's empty or still working, because sometimes gas stations will cover the pumps up if they're out of gas or they're messed up, and that's always annoying as hell. But anyway, let's just continue on with the story and see what happens next, shall we?
It would also be packed due to the fact that this was the only station for miles. Anyway, I worked full-time as I needed more money to help pay for my college tuition, and on top of that, I also had to pay rent.
Oh, sure.
Rent was majorly expensive at the time, and I had trouble paying it, which is why I desperately needed this job.
I understand. You find a job that's paying good money. It ain't nothing you like, but it's just something you could do to make a few extra bucks just to pay off your college stuff and rent.
Working full-time was tiring and relaxing. You basically make sure people paid for things, and you maybe have about 3 or 4 customers come in for a late-night snack or to pump gas. However, there was this one time I was working during the night where I came in contact with someone I'd never forget. I was working the night shift from 6 to 1 a.m. on a very rainy night, as there were said to be some scattered thunderstorms throughout the night. This was during the summer, so it was no big surprise to me. Anyway, I'd say from 6 to 10, people would come in for gas, and then it would start to die down. Once the place was empty, I'd go on my phone to keep myself occupied when there were no other customers to assist. At one point, I happened to look outside a little small window I had in my workspace to see a man walking in circles back and forth in the rain. I don't know what he was exactly doing, but he seemed to be ashamed or anxious of something. He wore a black t-shirt, a black raincoat, and what looked like gray sweatpants. I tried my best not to look out there, but I ended up looking again when he all of a sudden made eye contact with me. I quickly looked away to make it look like I was working, or at least act busy, but from the corner of my eye, I could see him walking towards the doors. The door then opened, making that annoying doorbell noise. He came inside while crossing his arms as if he seemed cold. He kept on repeating 4 words that I was still confused about. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I didn't know what he meant by that, but I assumed it was because he did something wrong.
Probably, or he's losing it in the mind.
Me being polite and trying to offer good customer service, I asked him if he was okay and if he needed help with something. His demeanor completely changed from awkward to unsettling. Almost immediately, he walked up to the counter asking for money. That's when I noticed his right hand behind his back, as if he were trying to make it seem obvious that he was hiding something. I politely said that I couldn't help him with that, but asked if he needed anything else. The response he gave me still scares me till this day. Don't play dumb with me, hand over your money or I won't hesitate to blow your brains out. I picked up the phone and told him that if he didn't leave, I was calling the police. Thankfully, he decided to leave and he then disappeared into the night. I breathed a sigh of relief and my shift then finally ended. The next day at around noon, police had came to my door questioning me about the man I had seen at the gas station the previous night. When I told them about my encounter, they had some very upsetting news for me. Apparently, after he left the gas station I was working at, he went to another station that was about 4 miles away and lured the attendant to the back of the station where he brutally beat her. The attendant suffered from major blood loss, major concussions, and much more. Unfortunately, he was never caught, which still worries me till this day. I have constant paranoia, thinking that he'll come for me one day and do what he did to the other attendant. I know he's still out there.
Why would somebody do that? Beat the crap out of another attendant. She didn't do nothing to you. Apparently he's just messed up high on some drugs, or he's really paranoid in the mind, basically. But thankfully, he didn't pull the trigger when this person picked up the phone and said, "I'm calling the police if you don't get out of here right now." But if you already had him on the line, they probably would have got to that station and caught him and arrested him before he went 4 miles to the other one and attacked that other attendant. I'm just glad this person did not get hurt, so let's get to story number 2.
For a bit of background information, I'm a 22-year-old male who attended college at the time, and I worked at a gas station as an attendant to help pay for my classes. I was assigned to work the night shift as I didn't have any classes during the night, and thankfully I'd be able to play games or catch up on homework when the place was dead. After around 11 p.m., people would barely come in, and the people who did would come in for cigarettes or a bag of chips. I've had my fair share of creeps, most of them drug addicts, come in once in a while for cigarettes or something like that. But there was this one incident where I witnessed something I'll never get off my mind. It was a Tuesday night at around 9 p.m., and I was running the register. This was normally around the time where less people would start to come in, which was nice, not having to do with any customers.
I know that's right. I never worked at a gas station before, but if I did, less customers would be good because you have more time to stock up on shelves and then lock up early if nobody don't show up.
However, a few minutes had passed, and that's when I noticed a car had pulled up to one of the slots in the parking lot. A woman got out of the car and made her way over to the door, carrying a plastic bag that seemed empty. From my point of view, she looked to be in her mid-20s or maybe early 30s. She then came inside, sobbing in tears, as if she needed help with something. She came up to me, asking if I could lend her my phone to text someone. I am not the type of person to say no to things like this, so me being the nice person I was, I stupidly handed her my phone.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that because it seemed like she's just acting. She probably might pull out a gun or some other weapon saying, "I'm taking your phone. Give me all your money." And because if it was my phone, I'd be like, I could call somebody for you. I can't just hand strangers my phone.
After about 5 minutes of her texting, however, she handed it back to me and then left. When she left, I put my phone away and tried my best to make it until the end of my shift.
Okay, she didn't take the phone, but I wonder who she was texting.
After it had ended, I drove home in heavy rain, looking forward to a good night's rest. Just then, my phone began to ring, coming from an unknown number that displayed on screen. I picked it up, expecting it to be a scam call, but I was dead wrong when I heard the angered voice of a man on the other end. He said, "Hey, who the hell are you, and why are you texting my 14-year-old daughter asking for pictures of her and where we live?" I felt a chill run down my spine as he said those words. In a confused yet scared voice, I said, "I'm sorry, sir, I'm not sure I understand what I did. I never texted your daughter." He replied, yelling at me that his daughter received inappropriate text from this number about 2 hours ago. However, that's when I remembered about the woman who I lent my phone to. I looked through my messages and found that she had at least sent 15 text messages to his daughter, most of them being sexual. After I explained it, it wasn't by much, but his temper seemed to go down a bit but demanded more explanation. I told him that I would call the police and my manager to help resolve the situation. A few days later, I reviewed the footage with police and my manager, but we have crappy security cameras, so the footage was pretty much useless. I wasn't held responsible, and the woman was never caught. I still don't know why she did this and why she chose me. She could have just texted the wrong number by mistake, but that seemed a little too far-fetched. As far as I know, police are still looking for her, but I feel that she's long gone and that identifying her would be next to impossible. Be careful as to who you lend your phone to. There are truly some people in this world that can ruin your life within a matter of 5 minutes.
You got that right. I would have been thinking that this woman was texting somebody to come back and rob the place, but nope, she was texting a 14-year-old. I mean, that's just wrong. And using somebody else's phone to do that, really messed up. But dadgummit, I wish they didn't have grainy security cameras because they would have been able to catch this woman by now. But like this person said, this is why you don't trust people with handing your cell phone to them, because you never know if they're going to take it or just text out inappropriate stuff, and then you'll get blamed for it.
About 2 years ago, when I was 19 years old, I officially received my driver's license after 3 years of having my permit, where one of my parents drove around with me.
Congratulations.
I felt that having a driver's license gave me a sense of freedom, going anywhere I wanted to, driving without a parent, and things like that.
You know, to be honest with you, it does, but me personally, I know there's a lot of people out there like me that don't like driving without anybody else with them in the vehicle, because I will get nervous, especially going on them long highway trips. I will feel unsafe doing that.
I'd say after about a few months of my parents paying for my insurance and gas, they thought I was responsible enough to start paying for my own car expenses. Of course, being the spoiled teenager I was, I didn't seem too fond of the idea, as I like having my things paid by someone else. But we all know that's not really how life works, and if it meant me not getting kicked out of the house, I'd be more than happy to pay for things. I had a part-time job at a Target, so I wasn't financially broke. After work, I'd go to my local club with friends to release all the stress from work and to have a few shots. Yeah, I'm still underage, but whatever. One night, I just left the club to go back home, only to realize that my tank was running on empty. The nearest gas station was only a few blocks away, so it wasn't too much of a hassle getting over there. Fast forward about 10 minutes later, I pull up to one of the gas hoses and start filling up. I owned a Hummer at the time, which is the type of vehicle that is most definitely not cheap to fill up on gas.
You got that right, because they got big gas tanks, but they are cool and bad to the bone looking vehicles. And I wished I had one, but I would rather get one that's gas powered instead of diesel, because diesel prices are going through the roof right now. And I definitely can't afford one of them new EV Hummers. But anyway, let's continue with this story and see what happens next.
Seriously, I'm not sure why they make it so expensive for cars to fill up, spending $100 on a full tank. Anyway, as I'm filling up, I notice a white Toyota Corolla parked about 10 feet away from where I was. I thought nothing of it and focused on getting gas. However, from the corner of my eye, I could see the car door open and someone begin to get out. At one point, I looked to my right to see a woman walking toward me while shooting me a blank stare. I quickly turned back around to make it look like I was getting gas, but she came right up to me, asking for money. Before I continue on, I'll give you a description of what this woman actually looked like. She was most likely in her mid-20s, wore jeans and a casual shirt, and had long dark black hair. The thing that really caught my eye was the bruises and cuts she had near her face. There weren't a lot of them, but they were still noticeable. Being the good Samaritan I was, I gave her $10 cash that I took out of my wallet and said, "I'm sorry, it's not much. I'm really in a hurry." She looked at me and then looked down at the money and said, uh, I'm gonna need more than that. Trying to be polite as I could, I told her that I was tight on money at the moment and that I had to get home, but wished her luck. She then started acting very strangely, going around my car looking inside for no apparent reason. I said, excuse me, ma'am, I have to get going." She said that I needed to let her in my car and take her home with me because her boyfriend had beat her up. I told her that the most I was willing to do was to call the police for her, but she didn't accept that.
You see, something right there kind of tells me that this woman is in on some sort of robbing scheme. She wanted more than $10, and she's looking around in the vehicle, probably planning on stealing it from this dude if he let her in. And if somebody denies getting help from the cops, that's probably why. They're a criminal.
She started trying to open the car door, grabbing the handle and pulling it hard. However, once I told her to stop, she started screaming at the top of her lungs, begging me to open the doors for her. I drove away from her, not caring for a damn second about her. In my rearview mirror, I could clearly see her casually walking back to her car in disbelief, as if nothing had ever happened. Of course, I felt sympathy and sorry for her, but I knew that it wouldn't have been good if I let her in my car. I've since been back to that gas station, but never saw the car or the woman again. I don't know what happened to her after that incident, but I like to think she's getting and being provided with the help she needs.
Now, I hope she did get some help and like ran away from her abusive boyfriend. But if you freak out because somebody don't give you a ride, then you're gonna make the other person not want to help you. She probably wished that guy gave her more money just so she can live off of that while she was running away. But a lot of people ain't gonna do that. I'm just glad this guy did the right thing and got back in his Hummer and drove on out of there.
This took place when I was around 23 years old. I recently started working at a gas station in Tallahassee, Florida as my first ever real job.
Okie dokie.
I had lived with my girlfriend in a one small bedroom apartment and we could barely afford rent at the time. My girlfriend worked at a Foot Locker while I worked full time here, making very little amount of money. Whenever I worked, my girlfriend would be home taking care of our dogs, and whatever she worked, I'd be at home. One day, I was working the night shift waiting for our customers to come in for gas or whatever. During the night shift, you normally expect up to 3 or 4 people come in for a candy bar or something as a midnight snack, so the gas station was pretty much empty for the most part. At around 11 p.m., I happened to look out the window when I noticed a man dressed in all black with a hoodie on, just standing around. He wasn't facing me, but rather the opposite, with his hands in his pockets, as if he were waiting for a ride. All of a sudden, he quickly turned around and faced toward me. I looked away to try and not make any eye contact with him, but it was already too late. I could see him walking over to the shop out of the corner of my eye. He then came in and went straight to grab a beer can, and he then came to the register to pay. I told him that its total was $6.50, and he sort of laughed in a calm tone, as if I had told a joke. He said, "Yeah, I'm not paying that much." I told him that I couldn't lower the price and apologized to him. The look he then gave me was a look of anger and hate. All of a sudden, he pulls a gun out from his back pocket and has me at gunpoint. I start yelling for him to not shoot, but he only kept on getting closer to me, yelling for him to give him all the money in the register. By some miracle, a police officer approached the gas station, and the guy then took off down the street. I informed the officer, and he said that he'd be on the lookout. We reviewed the camera footage, but the police failed to find a match to the individual. I'm still thankful for my life, because things could have taken a wrong turn on that night.
I think I heard that story before on one of the other storytellers channels I react to, but that would be scary if somebody just walks in, grabs a beer, you tell them how much it is, and then they chuckle, laugh, say, "I'm not going to pay for that," pull out a gun, thinking that you're going to give them all the money in the register. That's definitely a crap in your pants moment, but thank God there was a cop arriving there, and the guy saw it and took off. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Mr. Haunted related content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap. Have a nice day, y'all.